Welcome back. Opposition to the Mike Johnson speakership continues to persist as some reports indicate now that there are up to 5 no votes on Mike Johnson's election as House Speaker tomorrow. A lot of the resistance arises from concerns over congressional spending, particularly as we see billions of U.S. tax dollars being sent to Ukraine to protect their borders as our own border continues to leak like a sieve. Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich states that those against Johnson's speakership are contrarians, accusing the opposition of throwing temper tantrums and being unprepared for the hard work of governing and forcing change. Speaker Gingrich seems to think that forcing a change in spending patterns is like rocket science. So I thought it would be appropriate to bring an MIT-level scientist on the program, one of the key no votes against Mike Johnson's battle for the gavel. Please welcome to the show my good friend, a great conservative, Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Thomas, thanks for coming on. Tell us what's going on in the speaker's race as you join me now.
Well, first of all, I take that term contrarian as a term of endearment here in the swamp. Who wants to be going along with what's going along here? Matt, I don't know. I don't know if Mike Johnson makes it tomorrow. I am the one hell no. You know, they say there's up to 5 or 6 who may be voting no. You can count on me to be a no. And that I feel very justified in this. Mike Johnson sold us out over the last year. You know, you served with him like I did on the Judiciary Committee, where he was once for stopping the unconstitutional spying on Americans by the FBI and other agencies. But when he became Speaker, he decided to be the deciding vote to reauthorize that spy program without requiring a warrant. He architected the spending bill so that there was basically no way to pass a spending bill without sending at least $60 billion to Ukraine. And then he stopped work on the individual bills and did a giant omnibus. When Marjorie and I called the question on him, he worked with Democrats to remain Speaker. And so that, and finally, let's add the debacle that happened here right before Christmas, where Mike went off and wrote a 1,500-page bill with the Democrats. I don't even know if he consulted Donald Trump on this, because all of us were surprised. Even the leadership here was surprised when Mike rolled that stinker out. He lacks the situational awareness to know what can pass in the House and what can't. And he promised us we wouldn't get a Christmas omnibus bill, but there he wrote one and thought we would just, you know, eat it up when he put it there on the platter for us at Christmas. Of course, it failed miserably. And then Trump wanted a debt limit increase. But Mike, instead of telling Trump, listen, I don't think I can get that done, he put that stinker on the floor without doing the hard work of saying, here's what we're going to do to cut spending in exchange for that debt limit increase. He didn't do that. But that's because he couldn't tell Trump, listen, I can't get this done. So even if Mike Johnson's goal is to carry all the water for Donald Trump, his bucket leaks and he's going to trip and spill it.
Thomas, that is a lot of the bad we see in Congress. Let's test our own situational awareness here. With the majorities we have in the House and Senate, what do you think is possible? What is the important work you would like to see Congress do during this 2-year term, given the givens that we all face?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd like to see the mandate that Trump won in this election pass, his agenda. Let's secure the border. Let's end the endless wars. By the way, that was on his list the first time, but we had Paul Ryan who wouldn't help him with those things. You and I had a bill here in the House, and I'm going to reintroduce it. Trump is in favor of it. Let's end the Department of Education. We don't need a national school board. We've got 50 school boards in 50 states, and then we, and every county has one. So get rid of the Department of Education. That's something that Jimmy Carter created, not his best legacy, frankly. That could go on. You served with me on Judiciary and also on the Weaponization Committee. Look, we uncovered so many things, and guess what? We're still funding them. Of course the FBI and those guys are going to do this. We're sending grants out to universities and NGOs so that they can perfect the art of spying on Americans. We funded all that in a CR just recently.
But Thomas,
let's get in there and defund it.
Hold on, let's be honest with the viewers here, because we funded those things because there are Republican champions for those programs. Like Dave Joyce is your Republican lead writing the Homeland Security budget, and he is in favor of CISA, which advanced a lot of the censorship. So, in a world where if you you lose 1 or 2 or 3 Republicans passing a bill's in jeopardy, how do you get backbone, regardless of who the speaker is, for the Republican conference to go down this very wise path you've laid out?
Well, when it comes to funding, I think a lot of this stuff is going to be in one bill called reconciliation. And I just don't think those people are going to get in front of that train. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Let me throw this out there, too. Let's get rid of the time change twice a year. I think President Trump's been out for that. That costs nothing, right? I don't know. There's probably some rhino here in Congress is taking money from the time change lobby. I don't know if it's Seiko or Timex or who that funds that.
Yeah, big clock is very difficult to beat if you go up against that. We just had Lauren Boebert on the program. She made some news and said that she believed making Chip Roy of Texas, a fellow fiscal hawk, a fellow border hawk, the chairman of the Rules Committee, that would seal the deal. That's the one big ask for a lot of these House conservatives to vote for Mike Johnson. You serve on the Rules Committee. You have with Chip Roy. Would he make a good chairman of the Rules Committee?
Yeah, he'd be a great chairman. But here's the problem. I'm afraid Mike Johnson is going to do what he loved to do for the last year, and that is suspend the rules, bypass the Rules Committee, and pass bills with Democrats on the floor, with a majority of Democrats. We saw him do that time and time again. So I would like to see some assurance that the rules that we make in the Rules Committee are actually going to be followed. And if Chip's on that, chairman of that committee, that would be great. I've served on there with him and Ralph Norman. Those are part of the concessions that you got when Kevin McCarthy became Speaker, is we got 3 people on the Rules Committee and an ability to sort of get amendments in there, force votes that people didn't want to have to vote on. Chip would be great.
I think that's what really confuses a lot of Americans about the machinations of Congress. They assume that ideas are presented and then voted on, but there is this super powerful policy committee that gets to vet what is even put up for a vote or considered. And you're right, under Kevin McCarthy's time as Speaker, we fought hard to get you and Chip Roy, Ralph Norman, good conservatives there, but we were often disappointed that those rules we fought for were waived whenever people wanted to partner up with Democrats. Is there any backstop so that you don't have Democrats running the House of Representatives elected where Republicans were elected to run the place?
I'm worried Mike Johnson is going to follow the beaten path that he has over there to Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem bailed him out right before Christmas. Every Democrat voted for that deal that Johnson put on the floor. I'm afraid that's going to be hard to stop. And that is why I'm not for Mike Johnson. Here's something I've heard too, Matt.
Sure.
People have said, oh, just elect him now. And let's certify the election, let's do the inauguration, and then you can just chuck him overboard. My concern is at that point, he goes to Hakeem Jeffries or just a few Democrats and says, hey, I need your help, and he survives that, and then we're stuck with him forever.
This was an argument made to me, and so I'll make it to you in arguendo, as they say. But are you worried about the converse happening? If you got a small group of Republicans to stand against Johnson, are you worried that maybe the pro-impeachment Republicans like Brian Fitzpatrick and David Valadao might join with Democrats to elect a Democrat speaker?
There's always a risk at that, but at that point, they might as well become Democrats if they're going to do something like that. There are a few of our colleagues that probably should do that.
We don't want to do that now. We got a slim majority, Thomas. We got to keep them. We got to keep them in the boat. If Chip Roy were asked to serve as chairman of the Rules Committee, would that be enough to get your vote for Mike Johnson?
Oh no. You can pull all my fingernails out. You can shove bamboo up in them. You can start cutting off my fingers. I am not voting for Mike Johnson tomorrow. And you can take that to the bank.
Who are you voting for, Thomas? Who are you voting for?
I will vote for a sitting member of Congress who could do the job, and that's all I'm going to say.
Do you have that person in your mind already?
I do.
Well, folks, we'll have to wait for tomorrow to see the moves of the great Thomas Massie. Thomas, however it goes tomorrow, I appreciate that you actually keep the focus on the Constitution and on the risks to this country that could bring her down. And that indeed is the way we spend money. I hope you're able to get them in a better posture. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thanks, Matt.